Hey everyone, my name is Imran Richards. I am from Barbados, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Ready Set Go series podcast. Today in the studio, I have with me a few friends. Namratha from India.
Hello.
Welcome. Great to have you. I have Matthias from Portugal,
Hello, everyone.
and I also have Ivan from Houston, Texas.
Yeah, finally I made a podcast.
Let's go. And today we're going to be discussing what I believe is a really important topic. It is the topic of leadership development. And guys, I think this is a huge topic, primarily because leaders carry organizations. There's a famous quote that says, everything rises and falls on leadership. But the truth is, leadership development is hard work. I'd love to hear from each of you what your leadership development journey has been like. What are some of the things that have helped you to grow as a leader, as you reflect on your own journey? Any one of you can jump in and go first.
I think leadership for me is something that started a long time ago when I was a teenager, and my friend and mentor, Sergey, he started a group and he said, why don't you come and join? And I have a specific role for you. Whatever I say, you just write on the whiteboard. And session after session, class after class, that was all my job. Just write statements he would mention. And after doing this for some times, he said, okay, I'm not able to come to this class. Why don't you lead the class?
Oh.
I was 15 years old, and that was my first leadership experience.
Wow. Awesome. What about you, Matthias?
Yeah, for me, leadership has been a mixture of things. Obviously, leadership is a process. And for me, it's been like a mixture of opportunities that has been given to me. Also, people being able to be very patient. I believe patience, in my case, was very, very key because I wasn't always the easiest of teens. I did get myself in some trouble, but having someone that along the way just recognized the potential and was able to give me the opportunities, but at the same time keep me accountable to those opportunities was key in my process.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like somebody gave you an opportunity. Namratha, what was your experience?
As long as I remember my leadership journey, I think I was in school, young girl, like 9 or 10, when you're in a class where they give you a position as a class monitor, they give you as a class leader. So they give you the responsibility to take care of the class. When the teacher's not there, you get to write the names of the students who talk, because of that, few people are like close to me, friendly to me. I think it started from there when you're given that responsibility to do something. Yeah, I can remember that as early as possible for me.
Okay, got you.
Wait.
Yeah, go.
I hear some common ideas like opportunities, but I'm not sure if we have the same definition of leader. Like, who is the leader? Are we talking about same idea? Before we go even further, like what do you mean by leader when you ask us
What do
this
you
question?
guys think I mean by leader when I ask you this question?
The leader is someone who's mainly put in a position to serve others. So we can look at it from like a macro perspective. So as we look at like the one who's at the top and taking the decisions, that's also a leader. But at certain moments when you're called to do something and take, as Namu said, responsibility over for that moment, for that task, you are a leader. So you're being put in a leadership position.
Yeah.
So it depends. But obviously for me, mostly a leader is someone that is in a position of responsibility to serve others. And then they have the option to either do it well and serve the others or serve themselves.
Okay. Namratha?
For me, it's actually a tough thing to define because we just hear the questions and a lot of answers come to my mind, To be very simple, a leader is someone who could take from point A to point B, who can take anything, maybe himself or herself, or maybe a group or a task from point A to point B. As simple as that, I could define.
Okay,
for me.
I like that. And you, Ivan?
Yeah, I think the more leadership books I read, the more confused I become. Everyone has their own definition of who leader is. I think the leader is someone who has followers. Like if you don't have followers, you're not a leader. Now, whether it's because you taking the responsibility and step into gaps, or you guiding someone from point A to point B, but if there are no followers, like hard to call myself a leader.
Yeah, that's so good. You know, John Maxwell famously said, if you call yourself a leader, but when you look back, no one is following you, then you're just taking a walk. You're not actually leading. Speaking of which, there are a lot of leaders that are comfortable with the idea of just having followers. People who are consistently dependent on them. That if they aren't there, those persons are calling them, hey, what should we do? What should I do? What is the next step? There isn't a real focus on those leaders developing other leaders. Because leading yourself is hard work. Developing yourself as a leader is hard work. But then developing leadership qualities and abilities in others, that is also hard work. And I think in the sports movement, we are learning a lot about leadership as we train and equip other leaders to go out there and move people from point A to point B, as you mentioned. So what are we learning about leadership?
Absolutely a great example on journey and working with someone. I get irritated when people say, oh, it's not about where you get, it's who is with you. I don't like that leadership style. For me, it's like, where are we going?
Yeah.
I care less who is going with us, but where are we going? But I also get a feedback that that's not the right perspective. So finding the balance, who do I go with? Who are the followers? Who do I lead? But also where I'm going, I think absolutely important.
Yeah.
Now, combining that together, I think that's where the leadership development journey emerges.
Yeah. And there's a reason in my mind why you use the word journey and not event. So just quickly, I want to throw it back to you. If you can develop that idea a little bit more, and then I'd love for you guys to just weigh in on the conversation. But like, why did you use the word journey and not leadership event?
Yeah, because I have that experience in mind that I went through about 20 years ago when I attended sports leadership school. We went on 24-hour hike through the mountains, and as we were hiking in a small group, everyone has been given an opportunity to lead a 2-hour kind of a leg of the trip. And when it came to my part, I set the pace because I want our team to get to the destination first. And I set the pace where no one could follow me. Everyone like 30 minutes behind me.
Wow.
And I was so like, guys, come on, we gotta get there. And that hiking journey through the mountain, but it could be through the valley, it could be through the city. So give me that picture that leadership is the journey. It's not just sit down, stand up, but it's working with someone from point A to point B, setting the pace, setting the destination, making sure everyone follows you. So journey is something that really resonates with my personal experience.
Well, I also see where you get the definition from a leader has followers, because you had no followers 30 minutes behind you. Well, Matthias or Namu, can you guys speak to that journey in your own life? You know, so you talked about just like your first experiences with recognizing you were a leader or somebody giving you responsibility, etc. What would you say are some of the things that have contributed to your growth or have continued to contribute to your growth as a leader?
Yeah. In my case, being challenged, especially in my own personal life. So the person that put me in those positions, that gave me those opportunities, was also somebody that really knew me well. So that's also a big part of leadership, is that you have to be connected with whoever you are leading some way, somehow. And because of that, that person was able to really maybe challenge me in things that I would not challenge myself. Things like, hey, if you want to get to XYZ destination, you really need to get these things fixed first. Like things like relationships or the way you communicate with your family. And those were really important things for me, because even though I was self-aware of the capacities that I had and abilities that I had, I would always navigate through them and ignore those other things. And what he really taught me was like, you can be amazing at everything that you are doing, but like you will not reach ever your full potential until you address those things and make them also part of your process.
Man.
So for me, accountability was like a big thing, because I was never in a position where I was like unsure of what I could do or if I had the skill to do it.
Yeah.
It was much like other things, and
That's so great. That sounds like accountability, but it also sounds like mentoring.
Yep.
You know, there is this framework that we would refer to sometimes. It's called the Johari window, and one of the elements of the Johari window is blind spots. Is one of the boxes in that window, and essentially the theory is that so many of us, there are things that other people know about us that is obvious to them, but we are completely oblivious to it. Like we have no idea that this is a thing. It's like something on the back of your shirt and you can't see it. And it sounds like that person that was challenging you picked up on some of those blind spots, called your attention to it, and then challenged you to move in a different direction.
Exactly. Not only that, sometimes they might be blind spots or just things that we actively choose to ignore. Because we kind of put ourselves in a position where we can navigate them and just put them on our back and keep on going. But it's like, if they are there, we need to acknowledge them and address them.
And that's where the accountability part comes in. Really good. Thank you. And Namu, what about you?
For me, it was different in different points of my journey. So start with teaching both formal and informal, being in a classroom setting or just being casually talking with a lot of matured people or seniors or maybe peer group. So it was like teaching in one point of time, and it still continues till now. And after a point of time, it was modeling, because I never knew modeling had a huge impact on me, because as a young teenager looking up, you were like, maybe I was so influenced by motivational speakers, like, they're speaking well, wow, follow them, do this, do that. And then as I grew, when I see them, the way they talk does not match their walk. It's like, became skeptical, because for me, it was like, at every time the person talks, I'm like judging him and like, he's talking, but it's not working for me. Even the same person was doing that, I was modeling. Then I started looking up for leaders who walk the talk, even though they're very serious or very straightforward people who are not much into people-oriented stuff. But I started liking them more when they modeled it. I could see how influential they could be because they valued it. And then a huge jump for me in my leadership journey was mentoring. It was really a huge jump because it really taught me to be more vulnerable. Because with mentoring, you have to really share your life. When I talk about mentoring, it's like sharing life with someone else who's going to walk with you, you know. Sometimes they pull you with you, and push you too sometimes, and there are times you keep doing the same thing and they patiently wait. And there's a joyful sense and love. There's another person in your life that cares for you more, wants to see you better than them.
Wow.
That was a huge thing, to be more vulnerable, share your life, and they pour out in your life. And I really want to do that to others too. I really want to pour out my life to somebody else. Bring them along. And I think,
wow, man, that's amazing. So I think one of the things that is coming out clearly then is, even as we think about developing other leaders, that there needs to be a mindset shift. That training and developing of leaders is not just about teaching. It's not a one-time event. It sounds like it really is a journey. And on that journey, there are different principles or there are different themes that are extremely important. And we in the sport movement, we've identified 8 of them. And you guys have mentioned quite a few of them already. But the first one is teaching. We felt like this is a real key to leadership development, is teaching. It's being able to learn something new that will either empower your head or empower your heart or empower your hands as a leader. Can one of you speak to just your experience in relation to teaching and the role that it played in your own leadership development? Maybe you, Evan?
I think that the growth starts with the seeds that planted in you, in me, in my mind, in my heart, and that is done by teaching. So being around people who teaches you, whether in formal way, when I'm invited to trainings, seminars, has been instrumental. But then as a leader, I always have a choice. Do I just a listener and I'm just listen to the information, or I'm a doer, I take and apply this. And when I say teaching, I'm not talking just about 3 days, 5 days seminar. I have a wonderful leader who has been intentional in helping me grow in partnership developments. And he would take me with him to a meeting with partner or group of partners. And as we drive back, the conversation is always, what have you learned through the conversations? What are some phrases that you pick up? What are some things to avoid? And it is a teaching, but it's done in the car.
Wow.
And then putting these things together, obviously I have a choice. Do I apply them in my life, or I just say, oh, they were great teaching, great concept, but I will go my old ways.
Man, I think this is so huge because teaching is one thing, but learning is something completely different. And how do you know that you've learned, right? Is by putting those things actually into practice. It's not just that you understand it so that you can teach it to somebody else, but do you live it? And I think one of the things, as I hear you talk, is as leaders, we have to be able to learn it. Then we push hard to live it. Then we can lead it. Then we can teach it to other people. So that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing. We found that the second key to leadership development on this journey are resources. And Matthias or Namule, would you speak to the role that maybe being exposed to a new resource or given a particular resource has contributed to your leadership development journey?
Yeah. Resources are key. Like I play American football. I'm a quarterback. And when I started, so 10 years ago already, there are specific...
How old are you again? No,
but when I started, there are specific cleats to play American football.
Right.
They are not like, they won't make a huge difference, but they do make a difference.
You said cliques?
Yeah, cleats. They are like
shoes?
Yeah, like specific shoes. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. And when I started playing in Portugal, because it is not a big American football market, you don't have those cleats. So you usually have to order them in. And so you usually use like the soccer, so the actual football cleats to play in. And my coach at the time, he was coaching me, and we started to form a relationship and a bond. And as he saw my potential to be a good quarterback, out of the blue, one day he came out and he just gave me some proper American football cleats and an American football, like a proper leather one.
Yeah.
And that made all the difference for me, because not only the resource allows you to work better because you have the adequate resource for the task that you are aiming, but it also inspires you because now you have the right tools.
Yeah.
So you feel more eager and motivated to keep on moving forward.
Man.
So for me, like those kinds of moments that I remember, and that they happen either in the practical life or obviously when I was first exposed to the ReadySetGO experience and having all of those things being thrown at you, and they inspire you. They really want to make you move forward.
That is amazing. I remember doing sport ministry, and we thought in Barbados that we were the only people in the world that were doing sports ministry, and we just had this ad hoc way of doing stuff, and we would share testimonies and everything. And then I got exposed to the movement, and they had books on top of books on top of trainings, like everything that you could think of to actually do sport ministry. And I remember attending my first conference and trying to grab everything that was available, because it was like, wow, like this stuff will enhance my ministry like so much more than what it was actually doing back home. And so I hear you in relation to resources and the role that they play. Resources.
Let me flip this around.
Yeah, sure.
We talk about leaders, and we say that every great leader is also a great follower, right? So one way of leadership journey is you consuming all these great resources, but another aspect of this is you're producing those resources for others.
Yeah, wow.
And one thing I learned also from my leader, who is intentional in this, one day we're on the phone and he tells me, so how was your weekend? I said, oh, that was the worst weekend of my life. I got 2 calls from 2 leaders, and all they had some crises and issues, and we talked through this. And then he, at the end of the phone call, he said, you know what? I think you have at least 5 mentoring lessons that you can write on those 2 conversations. Would you take time and write half a page mentoring lesson on what you learned through this? And that really challenged me. So I sat down and I put this in the writings, and now it's distributed through a Telegram platform. It's given away. So it's consuming the resources, but being intentional in producing the resources in whatever form and shape.
Yeah, so that you can grow through those resources, but then you can produce stuff that help other people to grow as well. Well, awesome, man. And I think the third one then, experiences. So we've talked about teaching, resources, experiences. Namu, what is one experience that you would say has really shaped your leadership journey?
A lot of experience have shaped me, because when I talk about experience, it's also opportunities, challenges, also exposures we get. A lot of things create experience in you. I think in the year 2014-15, there was a conflict in my team. I had to really experience that. And when that happened, experience becomes very personal to you, and also it works your heart. It's not about your mind that strategically thinking how to do it, because with your team you do that, with your people you do that. It really actually experience makes you understand who you really are, because you experience it and actually you reflect on what you're doing. And I think that point of time I have to really reflect on me when that conflict happened. To really think how I'm going to navigate through it, and how my heart is going to be towards other people. That shaped and molded my character. That experience really had impacted on me. So that when that happens again and again, I know it's my heart that has to be changed every time my experience happens.
And you grow through those experiences.
Yes, you do.
So that there's some experiences then that are circumstantial, that challenge you, that shape you, conflict in a team. But then there are those experiences that are also intentional, where you put yourself in an environment that will contribute to your growth. You attend a conference or a school, you go to a missions trip. So I mean, like, both of those cases are extremely important. And it's how you leverage those experiences for personal growth. Because you can have the experience, but not necessarily benefit significantly from it or maximize the potential of that experience.
True.
Really good. Okay, so we have a few more to go as we talk through the leadership development journey. We've done teaching, resources, experiences. We've talked a little bit about mentoring, but I think it's critically important in one's leadership development journey, the role that a mentor plays. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have this particular facility in their life. How important has mentoring been for you guys?
I want to start just with definition again, clarification. When we talk about passing concepts, we talk about teacher. When we talk about training some skills, we talk about coach. And when we talk about character transformation, that's when I think we talk about mentoring. And mentors are important. I learned that it's not mentor who finds me, but it's me who needs to be very intentional in going and asking, and sometimes is begging, like, would you be my mentor? Now, I also learned that, I need to be very specific and very open. Open my mind and heart and life to someone to mentor and give full access at any time. It has been very critical, and my mentor would stay in my house, see my interaction with Svetlana, my wife and kids. And when I would go and do my stuff, he would talk to them in personal just to find out how they doing. And that provided me a level of accountability and responsibility. But then the insight that would come out of that would shape my character, because I can know all the concepts, can be great in the skill, but if my character has those flaws, it stings, and nobody wants to follow the guy who stings.
That's right. Come on, man. That's really good. Thank you for sharing. I think I want to move on now to models or modeling. And you touched on this now, like just the importance of people who are living the life, who are walking the talk, and the role that they played in your experience, like, can you just talk a little bit more about that? Maybe as you think through one person or that has been that for you.
I just want to talk about the negative part of it, because it's easy to say modeling in certain things, but you should also understand when you don't walk the talk, it really affects the person who looks up to you, and it reverses back. Because it really, you look at someone and you've been following that person and you've trusted them so much that you believe in them, but we don't model them. It's like, I'm not going to do that. They just stop. The growth stops. Actually stunt the growth of the leaders that happen. Because for me, it was like a point of time, because when you don't model it, how are you going to influence others when you don't model it? Because we are in a generation where there is a point in our time we listen to people, but we want to see them doing it. That is really important for us to doing it.
Yeah. Well, man, and I think so models can be of people, and we see them. We say, man, I want to be like that person. We don't need to know them. They may not be our mentors, but we can see their lives and we like, well, I want what they have. But then models can also be pictures of what ministry could look like. Can you just speak a little bit, Matthias, to maybe joining or becoming a part of the sport movement? Like, what was one outreach model that you saw that had a real impact on you that you are now trying to implement back home?
Yeah. So for us, one thing that I really experienced was in 2016, 17, I went to a sports camp in the UK. I've been an athlete my whole life. I've been a Christian my whole life. I've never even ever thought that those things would happen.
Wow.
So for the very first time after doing the multiply school, subscribe to multiply school, shameless plug.
That's a plug for the multiply school.
After doing the multiply school, I was invited to visit the UK, one of our partners of the movement, and just experience what they do. And they do sports camp. And man, that was something completely new for me. It completely revolutionized my mind, because for the first time I could see that people were doing sport and how in a practical way Bible would fit into that, and how natural also it would be. It wasn't like something super awkward or like you were doing sport and now, okay, right, let's stop and open up our Bibles. Like, no, it was something that was actually part of it.
Wow.
And seeing that model also, again, makes you dream. It inspires you, because you see all of those resources being applied into experience, into a certain model, and it inspires you to start believing, okay, there's ways that we can do this back home. There's ways that we can do this all over the world. And you just feel like you want to take it everywhere, and maybe now take the position of leader and take that into your own context.
Yeah, wow, powerful. So, I mean, amazing. So you were exposed to something, you experienced it, you saw it. You were inspired by it. I can do this back home. This could be done all over the world. Well, and stuff like that takes your leadership to a completely different level, because you can only step into what you were able to see, right? And so, yeah, really good. Okay, we have 3 more. Community. Like, as a leader, like, who are the people? How important are the people that you have around you that are walking with you?
Somebody said it takes a village to raise a man. I think Sin Muller approach is relevant to leadership.
But they say leadership is lonely at the top, and people make it sound like that's a great thing.
That's if you think you're at the top, though.
The wrong leadership, lonely at the top.
Okay.
I don't believe in leadership in isolation. So it's not like me sitting alone in my office, reading great book about leadership, listening to the podcast, journaling, and becoming a great leader. I must grow as leader in community. And there are 3 different communities. Communities of followers, people that follow my leadership. And that's one community of my mentors and coaches that I follow. And there's community of peers who stretch and pull. And obviously all of that can be done in a personal format, but I also think it can be achievable in the digital space. Like, I have a community in the Telegram group, and when I send something, this community corrects my leadership. There was an incident when I sent something very strong, very direct, and community came back to me. They wrote, you used the wrong words. The tone of your voice was too strong. You did it in the wrong format at the wrong time. And that shaped my leadership because I allowed to be in this community, even it's in the digital space.
No, this is so good because what you just described was a community that was holding you accountable. And that's the next key is accountability. I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time with it, but it's a word that we
hate accountability. But let's keep it.
No. But it is a really important feature in one's leadership journey. And I think one of the things that I would say on it is that it requires humility. It requires that we submit to that community, we submit to those mentors, to the followers. Because oftentimes as leaders, people think that followers can't correct them. Followers can't call them out if they're wrong. But that's not the type of leadership that we subscribe to.
No.
And so accountability is important. And then the final one, as we get ready to wrap up this conversation, is responsibility. And responsibility can be from two perspectives, right? Either you take responsibility or you're given that responsibility. Can you, Matthias, actually, I'm gonna ask you this one, Namu. Like, can you share with us just where was there a time where you took initiative for your own growth, and what did you do? Like was there a point where you took responsibility and you said, you know what, I am going to do this thing because it'll make me a better leader?
So, and when I started taking responsibility of certain things, I also understood that I have to really produce it and do certain things in my life. So one such thing was like when I started Bible teaching with my group of people. That was really when I started, I didn't realize it would have so much of impact and influence, but it was a responsibility that I took it. And I want to be accountable. It's not in a way to a particular person, but what has been given to me. It's not accountable to a particular person who's making me do it, but what has been given to me. So when I started doing the Bible teaching and I started receiving the responses of how people have been impacted by it, such a small thing, but when I took the initiative and responsible what has been given to me, that really changed my life, and I continue to do it.
That's powerful. You know, and somebody said that the most powerful commitments are not the ones that you like keep for other people, you know, but they're like not the commitments that you make to others, but it's the commitments that you make to yourself, you know, and can you follow through on those commitments, which is what you talked about.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this podcast, you talked about just the importance of opportunity, someone giving you responsibility, Matthias. You know, as you speak to leaders now, as we get ready to wrap this podcast, what would you say to leaders can be really powerful why is giving somebody else responsibility important is the question I want to ask.
Yeah. I think because giving somebody else responsibility will expose you to the truth of things, whether it's the truth about your own self in how you deal with it, whether it is the truth of the why you are doing it. Because as Namu said, when you are given a responsibility, you can look at it as like, I'm doing it because of X, Y, Z, or to please this person, or because my mentor told me to do it, or I'm doing it for the love of my community. Because that's also another key thing. Being like, you cannot have a community if you do not love it. Like my coach loves his team. That's why he sacrifices for it. Like, and that is the same for everything else. And I think responsibility really exposes a lot of things about yourself, about the things that you are doing. And without being given that responsibility, you'll truly never know.
Yeah,
you
of
know?
course, exactly.
You need there will be a moment where you need to really either take or give it or being given, as you said, that responsibility, and you'll see how you will embrace it. You will embrace it either for the right reasons that you'll feel in your heart and that you'll be willing to sacrifice for, maybe even remove parts of your life because of that responsibility, or you just see it as an added weight, you know, as something that is taking up the space of something else. So I think
really
responsibility
good.
is really, really important.
Thank you. Would you add anything to that?
I've been thinking I absolutely need to add this. Responsibility has dangerous side. It may create guilt and shame if it was misused or unfulfilled expectations.
Yep.
So as a leader, I see responsibility opens the door to the next room or next floor or next level, whatever you call. But the door must remain open. If somebody walks in, but it's too stretchy, too hard outside the capacity, I need to let person make steps back out of this responsibility without any shame and guilt. My role is to open the door and keep it open. That's now responsibility for person to get into and figure out like, oh yeah, I'm ready to move into, oh no, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to return back to where I've been. And it's okay. And I should not say, oh, you're going back. Shame on you.
Yeah, no, really powerful, man. Leadership is complex, but it can be really exciting if you get it right. And I think, again, there's no one magic bullet, right? And so we hope that these 8 keys that we shared with you were empowering, and that you know this was informative and educational for you, and that you can take this into your ministry context and apply these principles with the leaders that you have responsibility for. Thank you for watching the Ready, Set, Go podcast series. And guys, remember, all of the resources related to leadership development can be found at ReadySetGo.world. It's been my pleasure hosting you guys. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you so much.